Story 1. Well, yeah. If there is literally a 100% guarantee I wouldn't get caught, why not? There literally is a 0% chance of getting caught in every regard. Story 2. What is a good reason not to? Banks regularly get caught stealing from their customers. Troubled Australian wealth manager AMP Limited was fined a court-mandated penalty of 24 million Australian dollars in May for billing deceased clients for insurance and financial advice. An Australian court fined the country's fourth-largest bank, ANZ Group Holdings, 10 million Australian dollars in penalties in March for non-compliance with consumer credit protection laws in a case that stems from the Royal Commission proceedings. In October 2022, ANZ was penalized 25 million Australian dollars for failing to provide certain benefits it had agreed to give customers. Commonwealth Bank of Australia, the country's biggest lender, in June 2018 agreed to pay a penalty of 700 million Australian dollars to settle money laundering charges brought by Australia's Financial Intelligence Agency. In October 2022, Commonwealth Bank of Australia's trading unit was fined 20 million Australian dollars for compliance failures in delivering financial services. On May 30th, Crown Resorts and Australia's financial crime regulator agreed to a 450 million Australian dollar penalty after the casino operator failed to prevent money laundering and criminal activity at its casinos. Crown was also fined 120 million Australian dollars by the state of Victoria in November last year for serious misconduct and breaches, including failure to prevent gambling harm. Separately, the state fined Crown 80 million Australian dollars in May last year for enabling the illegal transfer of funds from China. Australia's third biggest lender, Westpac Banking Corporation, was ordered to pay 113 million Australian dollars in penalties in April 2022 for multiple compliance failures across its businesses. In September 2020, Westpac was slapped with a record 1.3 billion Australian dollars fine to settle a lawsuit accusing it of enabling millions of payments to people exploiting children. Story 3. So, basically the question is, if you got as much free money as you wanted, would you take it? I would. But how would I ever believe I was 100% guaranteed to not be caught? Story 4. Absolutely, without even a moment's hesitation. Why? Because I need money. Banks are insured out the wazoo, literally too big to fail. So no one is actually getting harmed by my actions. The money will just be paid out by insurance companies, and forget those guys too. Story 5. No. So many good quotes on this. Integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. The true test of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching. Story 6. Depends on what type of robbery you mean. Would I run into a bank waving a gun around like the Joker? No. If I could quietly rob the bank blind, then yes. Absolutely. Story 7, of course. The money would be a game changer, and if I knew I could get that 100% risk-free, then I'm all for it. The banks caused the Great Recession and are now back up to their same tricks again. We bailed them out, and all we got out of it was banks that learned zero lessons and greater income inequality than ever. We all suffered unemployment and stalled wages while they got billions from taxpayers, and the executives that caused it all walked away with millions in severance. Nah, I would shed no tears for the banks. Story 8. Yes, I definitely would, but only if they provoke me first. If we have a good relationship, I wouldn't rob them. If they gave me hidden fees or somehow committed fraud first, then yes. Story 9. Probably not. I don't see any moral framework in which robbing a bank is acceptable, as I have no need for the money and I don't know whose money I'm robbing. I could be robbing from a disabled person, a single mother, a small business owner, or a retired person living on Social Security. If the bank's only customers are billionaires and corporations, it would be more justifiable. Story 10. No. Sometimes, I think about how the world really isn't that bad because so many people choose not to do horrible things that they physically could do. So no, I wouldn't do that. Also, a lot of people are entrusted with others' information at their jobs or information that they could use to make a lot of money, but they just choose not to misuse the information. Story 11. Assuming no one got hurt, sure. Individuals are insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, if this is the United States, and so are the banks themselves. So practically speaking, nobody loses money in this situation. Story 12. No, for several reasons. One is that I cannot know to what extent my robbery will traumatize bank employees and the public. More importantly, stealing from the bank is not a victimless crime. I do not know why the "Be Gay Do Crime" tagline became so popular, seeing as the majority of people are law-abiding. However, when you become victimized by crime or see the impact of crime in the community and what it represents, the breakdown of the social fabric, you will appreciate being able to shop in a store without 20 security guards and every item under lock and key. Story 13. Not a bank so much as my mortgage company. A little hacking here and there, and suddenly random landlords' mortgage payments get credited to my account. In 3 years, my house is paid off and I can retire. Story 14. If the losses were going to be absorbed by the bank and not the individual account holders, and no one would get hurt 100% without hesitation. They've all done things worse than robbing a bank. It's just legal. Story 15. If nobody is going to get hurt, I would consider the idea. $50,000 is nothing to a bank. But I don't know. To be honest, the idea of robbing even a bank perturbs me a lot. Story 16. Hell yeah. I remember a comedian joked that women think all men's fantasy is to have a threesome when really it's to be a part of a heist. He was absolutely right. Story 17. I mean, if you couldn't figure out that with everyone wearing masks and scared of COVID-19, you could easily rob a bank. No, you wouldn't do it now even if you could come up with a plan, which is extremely doubtful. Story 18. I think I remember hearing there are something like 3,000 bank robberies in the United States per year, and the overwhelming majority go unsolved. I assume those are banks without armed security on site and focusing only on the tills. In and out quickly, dead presidents style. Story 19. The banks have insurance for this. I have also worked for a number of banks. They do their best to exploit people. I got in trouble for helping people. What would make me even more likely to do it is if I knew the money went to people whom that particular bank exploited. Story 20. I would probably do it more for the experience than the money. I wouldn't mind donating 99% of the take as long as I get to keep the memories of that one time I pulled off a real-life heist. Story 21. So many factors come into play. What happens if you rob the bank and the only way to get away is to kill someone? You still would never get caught, but now you have a death on your hands. Story 22. Yeah, all that stuff is insured, and I don't care about hurting a bank's feelings. The worst part about it is that the bank would get money from the government, so it's not even really possible to steal from them. You're stealing from the taxpayer. Story 23. A bank, sure. They only have like $10,000 available at any time. Following Leverage, the television show. I'd rather rob the individual. Banks are chump change. Story 24. I feel like some people might get suspicious. Just randomly buying these frivolous, expensive items might alert someone, especially if you are not wealthy at all. Story 25. Yes, I need to pay for these expensive classes to get my bachelor's degree. I'm tired of bartending. I would not take more than I need to pay for my schooling. Story 26. 100% banks rob people daily. The banking industry makes $5.83 billion a year on overdraft fees alone. A hit to one location of a major bank is hardly a scratch to their income. Then I will hand out $100 bills out front to people until I am like halfway through and take the other half home. Story 27. Absolutely. Banks are insured by the federal government. Literally, nobody using that bank will lose money. Taxpayers might foot the bill, but at least that means my taxes are going somewhere useful for once. Story 28. Yes, but I would need to find a way to help the tellers I traumatized. My sister was a teller who got robbed at gunpoint. It really affected her. I don't know how I would get around traumatizing someone, but I would need to find a way before robbing. Story 29. A bank? Like JP Morgan or Wells Fargo. Without question. And I wouldn't feel the least bit guilty about it given how much they have stolen from their customers and society just in my lifetime alone. Story 30. Depends if people were inside at the time. I couldn't cause people genuine post-traumatic stress disorder, which bank robbery victims often have. I could, however, go in completely undetected and steal money from people who probably have a lot more than I do and have insurance for when I steal anyway. Story 31. Yes, 100% of the money is insured, And if I'm not getting caught, no matter what I do, I'm walking in saying, give me the money. No one gets hurt. The bank prints new money. I get money. Win-win. Story 32. Heck. No. The Federal Bureau of Investigation got all the commenters slipping. If I see a juicy bank to rob with no punishment, I'm turning the other way and heading to double-check that I have paid my taxes correctly this past year. Story 33. No, I would not. Here is why. Introduces future expectations and temptations. Guilty conscience. It emphasizes the wrong path in life. It falls under my rule of not wanting to rely on prizes and lotteries for my income. In devilish genie rules, just because I would not get caught, it does not mean I would not go to jail for something else, or get murdered in a home invasion while trying to steal the money. Story 34. Anyone who says no doesn't realize banks have insurance, and literally nothing would be lost other than the insurance company's money, which is kind of a good thing. Story 35. No money is very heavy, and banks may or may not have enough to mitigate the very high risk. You are better off going after gold or something you can do online. Story 36. I knew they were going to catch me and I robbed them anyways. Rest in peace to the last few years of my life. Not as glamorous as you would think, but it makes for good stories. Story 37. I mean, yes, but if I'm going to rob a bank, I'm going to rob the bank, not just the tellers. I'd want the vault. I'd probably leave the security deposit boxes since that would mess with normal people. But yeah, I mean, if I could just take all the cash a bank has with literally zero repercussions, why wouldn't I? I'd just rob it at night so there's no chance of traumatizing some poor teller or something. Google says banks have 50,000 to 200,000 on hand based on the size of the bank. Let's call it 125,000 on average. That would be a nice little bonus. Story 38. I definitely would. The amount of money I would get would change my life and several generations of my family's life, but it would be a rounding error on a big bank's balance sheet. They basically wouldn't notice. Story 39. If the Internal Revenue Service doesn't audit me for my sudden wealth, yes, I need the money more than the greedy banks do, and the money is insured by the federal government. No one who would be hurt badly by the robbery would lose a dime. Story 40. No. For many reasons. A big one, unless it's an empty bank, is that it would be extremely traumatic for the people present. I don't want to be responsible for giving anyone post-traumatic stress disorder. It is terrible. Story 41. Depends. 100% guarantee you wouldn't get caught? Elaborate. Does this mean the Internal Revenue Service won't be after you too? Is the money in my bank account? No questions asked? You guarantee I get the money with zero punishments down the line? Then sure. I don't trust deals like this, though. It's a trap. Story 42. My significant other used to work for a bank. Best case scenario, maybe 100,000 is kept on site, so sure, you'll get some money, but you wouldn't exactly strike it rich. And if you're only robbing one teller, their drawer won't have over 10,000 in it. Story 43. They are insured for things like this. I need the money and am not taking it from someone who will be harmed. Given that I was found guilty of a false accusation, part of me feels entitled to commit one crime without repercussions anyway. I am a good boy, never committed a crime. Story 44. I am interested to hear why anyone would not rob a bank if you would not get caught. Bank employees are trained to be nonviolent and cooperate. Customer accounts are not affected. And unless I take an insane amount, the loss is insured. I cannot actually think of a negative to this scenario. Story 45. Probably not. I wouldn't feel right about it. Banks are other people's money, and what if it's not insured? Or that puts a pause on others' finances. I don't know. I'm too conscious of others to do this. Story 46. Destroy the debt of others, yes. Steal the wealth of others, no. I could never consider anything I did after that legitimate, as it was all based on lies. Call me stupid, but I would rather be honest and broke. Story 47. No, I hate people who would rather steal. Stealing from a bank is the same as stealing from those who deposited money or those who pay taxes to reimburse those who were stolen from. You can dress it up or try to justify it all you want or try to make it sound like Robin Hood, but it's theft of someone's effort, plain and simple. Story 48. No, because there's not a 100% chance that no one would get hurt. People get hurt or killed during bank robberies. My conscience is worth more than the amount of cash I could carry away. At 22 pounds per $1 million in $100 bills, I'm guessing that would be $2 to $3 million without throwing out my back unless I have a wagon. Story 49. No, I would not be satisfied if I robbed it. I would not be satisfied if I won the lottery either. I think my ego is too big, but I have a desire to earn the amount, not just be given it. I desire to grow myself, take risks, and develop skills to provide value to others at scale. Also, it is other people's money. I am no better than the banks if I steal it. Lastly, I would be paranoid about getting caught regardless. Story 50. Fun fact, there's more money in the automated teller machines than in the bank because, at the end of the day, security will move that cash into the automated teller machines to secure it. There's a reason why professional robbers only target the automated teller machines. Story 51. Small business owner here checking in. There's no point in robbing a bank. They literally don't keep enough cash on hand. You aren't walking out with $1 million. Most of the cash is in the automated teller machine vault that nobody at the bank has access to. You'd be lucky to get more than $20,000 out of a bank. Seriously, just trying to be like, hey, I need $10,000 in cash today. Sorry, we don't have that much on hand. Or worse, trying to get $1 and $2 coins. I've never walked out with what I need. Ask for $1,000 in $2 coins, walk out with $400 worth if I'm lucky.